Hello again, my friends. Welcome back to another Talking Darts. And you are, my friends, I'm once again joined by the wonderful Big Fish, Tom James. Tom, you've travelled halfway across the country and you still made it on time. Look at that. Marvellous.
That's all right. Yeah, I got home about 8 minutes ago. Just put a cup of tea on and we're all good to go ahead of week 3 of the Premier League. And yeah, it's been very good so far. Week 2 certainly outshone week 1, I thought. And yeah, there's plenty to discuss with our new guest today.
Absolutely. Week 3 flying along at some pace. We've got a new guest. We've got the Premier League starting here in a matter of half an hour plus. So we might as well just get cracking straight into it. Let's do it, Tom. Who have we got this week?
So this week, very pleased to introduce Chris Murphy, darts commentator for Official PDC, Live Darts League and TalkSport, as well as covering the seniors darts recently as well. So be really keen to hear his thoughts on how that's gone. And yeah, we'll delve into all of it. But yeah, let's bring on Chris Murphy.
That's some introduction, taglines, associations, the lot there, Chris. There's a mouthful.
Yeah. Thank you, because I wouldn't have been boastful enough to reel all that off myself. So thanks for that. But yeah, it's really good to be here and doing what I like doing best, talking darts.
Well, this is it. 180, as Nick Muller has just said in the chat. Tom. So Tom is the chap who speaks to the guests and to get them on. So I'm new to it. So Chris, I'm also new to darts. So tell me a bit about yourself, if you don't mind, and your journey into it, and how you've become what sounds like the voice of darts to me. Oh, has he frozen? Is he going to unfreeze? Yes, there you go. You've unfrozen. We've got you. You can go again.
Certainly not the face of darts, but yeah, I'm not used to having my face on camera, so maybe there's a little bug in the system there. But yeah, I think for me, I was doing a lot of other jobs in my sort of early adulthood and decided to go back to university when I was 23. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a commentator. I wanted to be a football commentator, actually. Wasn't really interested in darts as a kid. Wasn't on TV that much when I was growing up. And I got obsessed with darts in sort of the mid-noughties, kind of because of the Phil Taylor phenomenon. I used to tune in to see if someone would beat Phil Taylor, basically. And then, obviously, when you're watching that, you hear the voice of the likes of Sid Waddell, who brought a different kind of entertainment to it, and that became really interesting for me. So when I went to uni, I already had this interest in darts, and I was doing an assignment actually at uni, which required me to interview a sports person, and I just put out the word on Twitter, and Paul Nicholson, who I actually do a lot of commentary with now, responded. I was able to interview him. It just so happened that his management team were looking for someone to do some press work for them, and that was how it started, really. I got in with his management at the time, Modus. Within a couple of years of me being their press officer, Michael Van Gerwen was one of their players, and he became world champion. So it kind of lifted off from there. Then eventually I was able to make that step across and get a chance doing commentary on some of the Pro Tours and European Tours and all the other stuff I've done since.
Brilliant. And so who were you just touched on Sid Waddell there. Who else has kind of inspired you through the years? Because I think Sid would be at least in the top 3 of everybody's lists when it comes to darts, certainly. But who else may have kind of encouraged you or inspired you to get into commentary?
Yeah, so when I was watching, really, it only seemed to be Sid Waddell, John Gwynn and Dave Lanning that were commentating at the time, all very distinctive in their own way, all fantastic commentators. I actually had the pleasure of working with John Gwynn on the final of the World Seniors Championship just a couple of weeks ago, so that was like a real pinch me moment as someone who sat watching that person commentate on big moments in darts, to be in the box with him. But since then, I think I've taken a lot of my lead from the likes of Rod Studd, who I regard as the best darts commentator out there at the moment. I think he's way with words, his way of telling the story of a match and putting things into context and sort of light and shade and, bringing a bit of subtle humour to it, but treating the serious moments as serious as well. I think I kind of got a great influence from him. And, darts is, and it's a bit of a cliche, but there is a family type feel to the game. It's, a relatively small and close-knit sport where you see the same people all the time. And as I've been around in the sport for sort of a decade now, really, and I've had a lot of help and a lot of words of advice from the likes of Rod, Stuart Pike, another great commentator. Wayne Mardle, all people are willing to help and be very kind with the support. And of course, I think probably the other two that I really do want to mention is Paul Nicholson himself, because he's the one who got me into it in the first place, and I commentated with him a lot. And we've got a good, I think, dynamic together. And my best friend in darts, Dan Dawson, who he's an excellent commentator, really charismatic, really individual. He does his own thing. I think that is the most important thing, being yourself. And built a great rapport with him away from the commentary box, which I think hopefully comes across in the commentary box as well.
Absolutely, yeah. That's really good to hear, kind of your experiences and kind of who's really factored your career to date. You just touched on the seniors there as well. Only a couple of weeks ago it took place. What did you think to it? Obviously, I think night one, there was a few technical glitches, but they got ironed out pretty smoothly for the rest of the thing. And great to see some really old faces there. And like you said, hearing John Gwynn back on the mic was great. It was just a complete throwback for me, just listening to him through the years. But how did you find the whole tournament yourself?
Yeah, for me, it was a really big deal, actually, because it was my first proper TV gig. Obviously, all the stuff on the Euro Tour and Pro Tour is streamed stuff. It's the same job, but it's just a different audience, a more mainstream audience. I did commentate the World Championship, and that was on radio for TalkSport. So, I've got experience of working at big events, but it was a big deal for me. And night was challenging. There were quite a few issues with the production, which was there for everyone to see. But, we got through it, and the team fixed everything overnight, and the next 3 days were real. I mean, the first night was a pleasure anyway. Some of the games were really good. Kevin Painter against Tony O'Shea. We had the Bob Anderson 180 in his last throw of his match against Robert Thornton, which was a great moment. Yeah, with that lovely finger point that everyone was waiting to see and thought we wouldn't see, but then he hits a 180 of his very last visit of the match. And I think the quality as well got better as the tournament went on. It's just in terms of a tournament, it's just a really unique mix of nostalgia and seeing these old faces who probably weren't ever really in contention for the title. And then the likes of Kevin Painter, Robert Thornton, Martin Adams, fierce competitors who, really wanted to make a mark and be the first to win that title. So I thought there was a lot more positives than negatives, and I think it really worked as an event. And I was really, proud at the end to be part of it.
No, you should be. Yeah, you did a great job. And yeah, it came across that way that it was really good. And I think it was great to see the old school darts fans back as well. They just sat and watched. And as well as we're going to touch on the Premier League and all the other events as well. And they are great. The standard is brilliant, but the crowd can obviously be a bit of a barrier sometimes, I think, for like old darts fans who probably just want to sit and watch it and just get on with the game. So it was great to see that. Great to see it back at the Circus Tavern as well. I'd love to go at some point. So hoping it gets back there next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the point as well, that there's something really special about that atmosphere where the crowd are totally quiet when a player's throwing, and then in between they lift the volume up and all get going again, and then the player gets back to the hockey and it goes down again. Something that almost gives you goosebumps in a big match when the crowd are like that. So it felt weird. It really did feel like we'd just been transported back to sort of 15, 20 years. It was, but yeah, it worked. It was really good. And thanks for your nice comments as well.
What you can't discuss about the seniors, or what you can't not mention when you're discussing the seniors, is obviously Phil Taylor, the power.
Yeah.
Obviously, because him himself had stinging comments aimed at himself afterwards. As somebody you've already admitted growing up watching Phil, what did you make of the tournament from his perspective and obviously his comments afterwards?
Yeah, it was a surprise to see Phil be, and I mean this in the context of Phil Taylor. It was a surprise to see him play that badly.
Yeah.
And he wasn't the worst player there, but we weren't expecting some of the other players to play well. And it just looked like a guy who's not been doing much, really. He's not really been on the exhibition circuit, obviously due to COVID, so he's not had any competitive practice. And I think that's a point that has really been hammered home since the event. Nobody really knew what to expect from Phil. No one was foolish enough to write him off and say, he's got no chance. But I think he just lacks that competitive edge that he's not had for. I wouldn't say 4 years because he's played in a lot of stuff since he retired on the exhibition circuit, but certainly in the last 2 years, when the likes of Adams and Thornton and Painter have been playing in some form of competitive tournament. What was interesting?
Right, sorry, go on.
Yeah.
You to say you're absolutely right. It's Phil Taylor. He's darts for a lot of people. Isn't
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a real feeling between me and some of the other commentators when we're talking off air about whether he would even turn up to another event, whether he'd just go, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. He said he was embarrassed, but we saw a bit of the old fight, didn't we? He said, I won't play like that again. And I think he will now try and do what he needs to do to make sure he puts on a good performance, and watch out at the Lakeside at the end of May when they have the Masters, because I think he'll certainly produce a better level of performance if he's true to his word, because he won't like turning up and getting turned over like that. Kevin Painter wasn't incredible in that match. He just was miles better than Phil in all the big moments. And it was strange to see that, but it actually makes for quite an interesting narrative, doesn't it, for the rest of the seniors tour this year?
It does, absolutely. Talk back to the Premier League, I suppose now, Tom. Really, time's ticking, obviously. Should we just look at last week and some of the big storylines or the big results coming out of last week?
That's right, yeah. So doing a little bit of digging on your timeline as well, Chris, as well. We had the same opinion as our last guest, Carl, on how we thought Peter Wright was going to do last week. And it completely fell on its face with probably what we all expected, and absolutely crashed out in the first of the quarterfinals, 6-1 to Van Gerwen, and kind of set the tone for pretty much a crazy night, in my opinion. I thought week one was quite calm for the new format, and then it just really, I feel like it came into its own last week, and I really enjoyed it. So keen to hear your thoughts on, probably first of all, before we get into the games, what you think of the new format.
Have we lost him? We may have lost Chris. I will just remove him from the screen. If he starts to wave at me, I will know that he's come back and the connection has caught itself up. But at the moment, nothing to report there. We'll keep an eye on it. Chris, if you're there, just give us a wave. But yes, Peter Wright, Van Gerwen. Nobody gave Van Gerwen a chance last week, Tom, when we were chatting about it. And I said I'd love Van Gerwen to beat Wright and obviously make it so, because you both had Wright to win last week.
Yeah, we had him to win the whole thing, and then to see him average 84 in a 6-1 defeat was mad, really, and it was so unexpected. And I think by his own admission, he'll know that's nowhere near what he wants to do or will do, and I'm sure he'll come back. But yeah, really surprised. Van Gerwen played really well in that match, and then just couldn't then get over the next hurdle and win and get into the final. So, but yeah, it's been a week for Joe Cullen, pretty much. Hi, Chris. You all right?
Hello, Chris. Welcome back, mate.
I think the storm is starting to cause.
That's fine. Not a problem. We you know as well as we do what technical issues are like and how they can affect, and you just got to ride over it. But Van Gerwen last week, Wright was the favourite to win it on this podcast this time last week. So
yeah, and as Tom said, in my view as well, and it is kind of weird to say that it's a shock for Michael Van Gerwen to win a game of darts, but it felt like it was the way that Peter Wright had been playing, having won the first week. I actually didn't see any of the first week because of the seniors that started on the Thursday night. But I really, really enjoyed it last week. And Michael Van Gerwen, how he then, the way he played. But that's kind of been how it's been for him for the last 18 months or so. But sent a message out really with beating Peter Wright, who not only is a world champion, but is about to become the world number one.
Do you think Van Gerwen's lost a little bit of the aura? Playing Van Gerwen, does that mean what it once did, perhaps? So I read an article regarding that only this morning, to be fair. That's why I bring it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually know him quite well. As I mentioned, I was sort of his press officer for that time when he was at the top of his game, and spending a lot of time with him then, he just had this air of confidence that you see in champions in any sport. He went onto stage knowing he was going to win, not thinking he was going to win, knowing he was going to win. And when he lost, one thing that Michael van Gerwen always did was blamed himself. Never looked at what someone else had done or like someone in the crowd. He was like, well, anything that's out of his control, it's not worth worrying about. But what can I do to be better next time? I think that, to answer your question directly, I think yes. I think he has lost that to an extent. I think that there are a number of players who all think that they can win any game of darts now, in contrast to the Phil Taylor era and the early Michael van Gerwen era, where a lot of players were probably beaten before they got on stage. But I do still think that, I'm going to make a bit of a prediction. I do still think that we're going to see the best of Michael van Gerwen. I don't think his career is on a constant decline. I still think his best darts might be to come. There are other factors at play as well. I mean, he's had two children in the last few years. He's very much a family man, and I think that's taken a bit of focus off darts. I would never knock anybody for that. That's family's important, and but it can just naturally happen. As those kids settle, grow up a bit, go to school, he might have a little bit more focus back on darts. So yeah, just little things in people's lives, particularly in individual sport, can have a massive impact. But we all just focus on the sport itself and go, how's he throwing his darts wrong, or is he crumbling under pressure? Maybe he's just not got that same level of focus. And also, the last thing I'll say, which probably doesn't actually support the point of him still having his best darts to play, but when you've sort of achieved what he's achieved and earned the money he has, it's kind of probably easy to lose a little bit of motivation. So maybe he needed the fall to because his motivation is now proving himself as the best player in the world again. So maybe he needed a bit of a drop off to get that hunger back. And yeah, I think we haven't seen the best of Michael van Gerwen yet, which is a scary thought.
That is a scary thought. And I think Chris is right there, Tom, because all the champions, they need that little slight edge, whether it's somebody looking at them in the crowd and they thinking, oh, you don't like me, I'm going to prove to you that I am a great player in whatever sport, or as Chris has just said there, that ability to say, you know what, my best darts are ahead of me, and I'm going to actually show that there is an aura when you play me still, and you are wrong to write articles or have podcasts that say that, because the darts is better with Van Gerwen at his best, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. And he's done it for so many years and proved that he probably is the best if he gets back to his form. But I think it's just a combination as well as the standard throughout darts, probably since the latter years of Phil Taylor. It's just grown and grown and grown. And the field is just so strong now. Anyone could pretty much win a tournament if you're in the top 8 to 16 of the world. You've got a good shot at doing that. And I think it's just the rise of more characters coming through as well, like a Gerwyn Price, a strong presence. Van Gerwen's probably have to share that mantle with other players as well. So it's probably he's being pushed out a little bit in that sense of character, but it's up to him to get it within himself to just try and fight back a little bit more. But I think what Chris was touching on about family stuff and things going on at home, we don't see that. And it's probably something that we probably should bear in mind when we are talking about form dipping off. But yeah, overall, it's just great to see the field is so strong at the minute as well. So it's good for us fans.
Before this week's sort of look ahead, was there any other surprises in the progressions? Obviously, Cullen, Price, Clayton. Any other surprises, or was that as you saw it happening, Tom?
I wouldn't say anything was dramatically standoutish in the quarterfinals. I thought, it could have happened either way. I think when it gets to the semi-finals last week is where the stories start coming in. Really good semi-final games. We saw MVG average 105 against Cullen, but still lose 4-6. Cullen came back from being down in the game to then see it home. And Clayton did, not Cullen. And then, Cullen beat Price with a 101 average, 6-5. And they're really playing out of themselves at the minute, those two. And I think we were touching on earlier, like Cullen's had a really good week, like off the main stage and like in other tournaments as well. So I'm really excited for tonight because it's Colin MVG, and it's two players who have got a hell of a lot to bring to the table, I think. But yeah, really enjoyed last week. I think even though Clayton won 6-4 in the final, he had like a low 80s average, which was a bit bizarre. But yeah, it was just so entertaining, I thought. I just thought it went back and forth. Players, just playing out of their skin at the right time, doing the right things at the right time. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
Joe Cullen tweeted out, well, back-to-back titles, really enjoying the game at the minute, and the results are showing it. We'll keep trying hard and trying to improve. Is it really showing at the minute, do you think, Chris, with Cullen's darts?
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, a couple of points, really. We just made the point about, players' private lives and family, and obviously Joe Cullen had a horrific year last year with the loss of his mother. He's spoken about that, how he just didn't care about darts for a while. And then he's come into 2022 with, having grown from that experience personally and gone and won the Masters, won 2 Pro Tour events and beaten one of the top players in the world last week in Gerwyn Price, coming back from behind to do so. So I think Joe Cullen's only lost something like 4 matches so far this year out of roughly about 30 he would have played in the Masters, the Premier League and the Players' Championships. So I think we're really seeing an arrival of a consistent Joe Cullen. We've seen him many times in the last 5 years or so turn it on for a game, even maybe turn it on for a weekend, but now we're seeing it week after week. And I think it'd be a massive danger, and he's a brilliant addition to this year's Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely agree. He has been very good so far, and yeah, I can't wait to see what he does in the coming weeks. I think he's going to go from strength to strength based on the current form. Cool. So, what do you reckon, Martin? We'll look ahead to this week.
Absolutely, yeah. Bring it on. Looking forward to sitting down, watching it with my lovely bowl of curry. Can't wait. But what am I expected? As a new fan to the sport, what can I be treated to tonight, Tom?
So starting off with Smith and Price. Smith is not in the best run of form, particularly in the Premier League, and Price picked it up last week. So keen to hear what you think, Chris. But for me, it's probably a convincing Price win based on current form. But we know Smith's got it in the locker. We've seen it at the World Championships. He got to the final. But yeah, keen to hear what do you reckon to that one.
Yeah, a little bit like Michael Van Gerwen. Michael Smith's had some sort of high averages and being beaten so far. I don't know why, but I've got a feeling for Michael Smith, and it goes against all the form. I think I said Joe Cullen's only lost 4 matches. I think Michael Smith's only won 4 matches since that World Championship final. That's in they've played 5 tournaments plus 2 Premier League nights, so effectively 7 tournaments, and he's not got many wins under his belt yet. However, Gerwyn Price, to me, so far this year, just seems a little bit slightly not himself. I think we're seeing a half Price, if you pardon the pun. I think we're not seeing the full sort of.
That's good.
I don't think we're seeing the full sort of high voltage kind of stuff that we've seen from Gerwyn Price. The aggression's not quite there. I've seen he's tweeted in the last couple of days that he's getting involved in some charity boxing match. He's got a lot of other interests away from darts. Missed the Premier League, of course, last year. And also what this format does do is not only in the matches because it's so short, but also in the league because of the point system. You're never really ruled out. So maybe some players sort of think, well, I'm going to win a week here and a week there. And obviously they'll always give the best, but that little percentage might sometimes be missing. Price has never won in Belfast. He's only been there twice, but he's never won there. And I think Michael Smith and him met in Belfast about 3 years ago, and Smith beat him 7-2. So yeah, I'm just going to go for Michael Smith in that, based on the fact that even though the results haven't been there for Smith, the performances have, and maybe the results have been better for Price, but I don't think the performances have been there as much.
Might be a bit unfair to us, Chris, being as close as he is to Van Gerwen, Tom. But who goes on to face either of those players? Is it going to be Van Gerwen, or will his counterpart go through, Joe Cullen? Tom?
Again, in lost. Go on, Tom.
Sorry. No, you can answer if you like. I wasn't going to put you on the spot like that, you see.
It's been a while now since I worked with him.
There you go. He's going out.
Actually, because I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying that because I work with him, but I've just got a feeling it's his night tonight. I really think he has. Actually, I said Price has never won in Belfast. Van Goen's never lost in Belfast. Never lost a game there, and he made his debut there back in 2013. It would have been drew 6-all with Phil Taylor, and I've just got a feeling that his performances, you can't keep playing that well and not winning. I think it's impossible, and I think we saw that on the Pro Tour last year. He went through where he was performing well, and eventually won one of the Pro Tour titles towards the end as well. So I think he'll win, even though the stats probably favour Cullen at the moment. Well, in terms of form, in terms of matches won rather than averages. Again, I'm going to go a similar feel to the Smith game. I think Van Goen's probably performing slightly better, but not getting over the line, and I think he will tonight.
Okay. Never lost in Belfast. Great little stat there, Tom. But do you see this being Van Goen's first defeat, or are you going to go along with Chris?
I think it goes 6-5 either way, but I'm only going to lean on the side of Cullen based on the week he's had, how he played last week, how he got back from the week 1 disappointment. And I think his first week in the Premier League, he was just trying to acclimatise, and he's just 2 weeks since, he's just grown in and out of the tournament. So but I can't really strongly disagree with Chris and say Van Goen's not going to win, because that would be probably stupid for anyone to say that. So,
Chris, you said it's Van Goen's evening tonight. Does that mean Smith Van Goen semi that you've built yourself here? Is that Van Goen going through that as well?
I think so. Yeah, I think the confidence. It's interesting because actually a win against Joe Cullen at the moment is a massive confidence garnering victory. And I think he can take that momentum from that match if he does that, and see off Michael Smith, who at the moment, like, one win isn't really serving him that much, is it? And that's something else we'll start to see with this format, with players that have only got a couple of points or no points, like Michael Smith. As the weeks go on, they're like, I need to win the whole thing this week, really, to get back in contention. So there'll be more pressure on Smith in that match than there will be on Van Goen if that is the match. And I think, Van Goen will go on and win it. And
Tom, Price Cullen to complete that side of the draw. Price Cullen, who goes through in your world?
Yeah, I'm backing Cullen. Backing Cullen for the final this week.
Backing Cullen for the final. Okay. Over to the other side, we've got Gary Anderson and Peter Wright up first. Chris, what do you think? Peter Wright rebounds with a venom?
Everything says he should. When this format was announced, I thought that the one player who might suffer the most from the new format would be Gary Anderson. I just thought that playing so many matches in an evening might not suit him. He tends to have his best runs at tournaments like the World Championship, where you turn up for one night, have a few days off, and play again. He's got a great record there, and we've seen him win the Premier League in the past when it's been the old format. But he seems to be enjoying it. I think he said that he's enjoying it, this sort of weekly tournament. So it's interesting. Peter Wright's just won so many, like European tours, for example, where it's the same kind of thing on an evening. It should really suit him. He has got the better of Gary Anderson in most of the TV meetings recently. This time I'm going to stick with what all the stats and what all the form is saying and go for Peter Wright. Yeah,
no, won't be a great shot to many, that prediction. Tom, is it one you're agreeing with, or do you think Gary Anderson can actually not sneak one, but take one here?
I'd love him too, but I like him a lot as a player. But I'm going to stick as well, and I think it'll be Wright who gets through that one.
Okay, no problem. And they could be facing either James Wade or Johnny Clayton. Tom, kick us off with that one. Wade versus Clayton.
Clayton's just incredible at the minute as well. It's just I think Clayton gets through that one. Wade had a bit of a flat one last week, 87 average in his loss in the quarterfinals, and obviously Ferret, he went on to win it. So I think he gets through to the semis. Probably it won't be easy because it's against James Wade, but maybe a 6-3, 6-4.
The nickname alone gets him through. Ferret, absolute greatest nickname of all the sports. I'm no doubt about that. How about yourself, Chris? Clayton, is it for you as well?
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. I think that Johnny Clayton's probably performing the best in the world over the last sort of 6 to 9 month period. All the titles he won last year, the way that he performed last week to take the title. And James Wade, out of the players in the Premier League, is probably performing the worst over that same period. He got to the World Championship semi-finals without playing a good game, really. He didn't play well last week. I think he's lost 5 out of 6 on TV against Johnny Clayton. To be honest, if James Wade wasn't ranked 4th in the world, I don't think he'd be in the Premier League. The top 4 getting it automatically. I don't think he'd be in if he wasn't in that top 4 at the end of the World Championship. So, I think that Johnny Clayton will win it quite comfortably, actually, tonight, that match.
Which leaves Wright versus Clayton. Chris, who goes on to face your chosen winner of another side of Van Gerwen? Who does it for you, Wright or Clayton?
Again, I'm going to go with consistency, and I just think right now that Johnny Clayton's the more consistent of the players. Been a bit of a role reversal there because Peter Wright was Mr. Consistent for a long, long time, and Johnny Clayton was Mr. Inconsistent, still with the ability, but he's found a consistency. And I think, out of all the players, he's the one that kind of holds a little bit of a fear factor as well. And I think he's a really annoying player, to play against because he does it all with a smile on his face and like it doesn't matter at all. And it must be really annoying to sort of lose to that and then not be able to say a bad word about him because he's just a nice, happy-go-lucky guy. So, I think he plays Van Gerwen in the final.
But he doesn't beat Van Gerwen because you think it's Van Gerwen's night?
Yeah, I think with each victory, and I think this is what it's going to take for Michael Van Gerwen, is to win a night like this. And if that happens tonight, then, watch out for the rest of the season. I think, each of those victories just giving that little bit more sort of power up on that sort of level bar. I think that bit of confidence.
I like it. The power up. Sorry, we just lost you there.
When you asked the champion, what is it? What's the difference? You got me back?
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, we've got you back. Sorry, that was my fault. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. Yeah, all I was going to say was he always talked about confidence as the difference, really. And if he were to get a win against Cullen and then go on to beat Smith, I think that would just carry him through to the final on a crest of a wave, and he managed to get the better of Clayton. So I think, I said at the start, I think it's his night. And
that would set up, obviously, a great weeks four onwards with another player added to the mix, playing really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom, Wright Clayton, who goes on to face Cullen for you?
I have no idea why, but I think Wright is just going to bounce back this week. I think he's going to be annoyed with last week, and I think he will get to the final. And in what I've said, I think it will be Wright Cullen final.
Yep.
Then I think Cullen will do right in the final. Again, a tight game, but I think that's how I see it going. Am I going to put money on it? No, but that's how I see it go.
I like it. So we've both gone for different winners. Chris Van Gerwen, Tom Cullen. So let's see how it turns out. I'm going to see what the odds are on Van Gerwen, having never lost in Belfast now. Thanks for that little nugget there, Chris.
No problem.
But Tom, over to you. We've got 8 minutes left of the Premier League, so we better get our skates on. Different sport, I know, but get them on all the same.
Yeah, we better wrap it up and get ready for the preview. Starts at 7:00. So just want to say, Chris, thank you very much for coming on. It's been really good to have some insight into the commentary side and who's really influenced you. And it's been really good to talk to you. And we'll certainly be following your progress as you go on.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Chris.